gonna put the record. So, oh, I did. Okay, so welcome everyone, and okay, Josiah, can't see you. We want to make it so everyone can see.
So please don't sit there.
Here we go.
That seat up front.
Oh, wait.
Too, like the base of huge.
There. Yay. Now we can see everybody. Okay.
Wow, okay.
So now we can see everybody at home and here. And so I want to introduce you to two very special people to me. This is Christina Wine and Caroline Sabharwal. And they are both former students here who were in MOP and did their MOP. Christina was here, she transferred to UH Hilo and finished her degree there in marine science. And then went on to become a marine engineer and worked on ships and all kinds of really cool stuff. And then Caroline, when she was here, she was our turtle stranding person. So back then we used to have, I coordinated this turtle stranding network, and we had students that worked as a student help position, and they would go out and respond to turtles. Now the Maui Ocean Center took it over, but it used to be us that did it. And Caroline was my #1 turtle stranding person. So she might want to tell you a little bit about it, but it was like every day, 100% of the time, you have to carry a pager, or then finally they switched to cell phone.
Yeah.
For a long time it was a pager. And then if you get a call, you had to go out, and usually it was picking up dead turtles, but sometimes they were trapped or something, but she did that for several years, and then she left us and graduated, and so they both ended up getting jobs at Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve. And they're working there trying to preserve the marine environment there. So I'm gonna let them tell you their story, but I'm really proud of these two. They came a long way since they were students here, and they're gonna tell you about what they do now. So let's see. You can share your screen here. And we'll go to PowerPoint. We're just gonna hide the other people for all this is going on. Okay. You'll have to speak up a little bit because that speaker does really good. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. We work for the Kahoʻolawe Island Reserve Commission, and here's just a quick picture of Kahoʻolawe, and it has the EVs or land divisions. And it includes a couple things from the other section of the reserve, which is 2 nautical miles from shore. Everything, all the way out. You can fish until the 30 fathom mark on certain weekends, but other than that, it's protected all the time.
You have to have a permit.
So yeah, don't just go fishing.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. A little quick bit of history. Are the human section of history, pre-Western contact. There was fishing, there's an axe quarry, traditional navigation was taught here. And then a couple of feral goats were gifted by Captain Vancouver, and they just took over everything and just ate a bunch of vegetation to the ground, lost a lot of the vegetation holding down the topsoil. Topsoil started to get lost. Then ranching leases happened.
200 years of goats.
Obligated. It went from 2 goats to thousands of goats. Then there's some ranching, and along with the ranching came cats, unfortunately, that got left behind. When World War II started, the ranchers were told, get out. You have like 2 days to leave. And yeah, so they couldn't catch all their cats when they left, so the cats stuck around and became little survivors, not in a good way. And then from 1941 to 1990, there's about 50 years of being used as a bombing range. So this picture is of a simulated nuclear blast, 500 tons of TNT stacked up, and they were detonated in the same spot 3 times with live people in ships offshore. That's just one thing that left a big scar. Oh, sorry, what changed? To just say those pictures are crazy.
Okay,
Repeat that last part again.
Yeah.
That seemed really informative.
Sure, yeah, the pictures with the fire, it's the sailor's hat operation, which was a simulated nuclear blast, because no nuclear weapons were tested or chemical weapons, but every other kind of ordnance was tested, so rockets and bombs, from planes, and they did landing craft operations and storming the beach for all kind of, all the wars between, now and, yeah, Pearl Harbor. And, yeah, so Operation Sailor's Hat was 500 tons of TNT. It left a huge crater that was filled in a couple times, and the last time they did it 3 times. The last time it was just left, so there's a big scar there now.
yeah, and you can see like offshore, they had ships, like the purpose of that was to test how like a nuclear blast would register on the sensors, like of the offshore ships, whatever,
Or damages.
yeah, or damages, like what would be the effects? So that was like, that was their reasoning behind why it was necessary for this.
And people started to become unhappy with what was happening. I mean, I think they're unhappy the whole time, but in 1976, there was starting to be a lot of sort of civil unrest, and something that sparked a big movement as part of like the cultural renaissance and revolution that was happening in the 70s, was the first landing on Kahoolawe. So there's a whole fleet of people, and they wanted to come over and sort of protest the Navy. So they're just young people like you. They wanted to show up on the island, and the Navy with their big guns said, "Turn around, you need to turn around." And so a bunch of the boats were like, "Okay." And they turned around, except for one who just kept going. They booked it to shore, and 9 people landed on island. You know, it's like historic day, the Kahoolawe Nine, and they ended up being kind of the leaders of this movement, a bunch of them. And once they got here, or they got to the island, they realized like they were part of Kahoʻolawe, which is a sort of a group of people that were finding access on different islands. So we're like, hey, like we should be able to walk everywhere. And now a lot of places are blocked off, and there's a whole island now that we're not allowed to go to. And our ancestors are here. Our family was here, and this isn't right. We need to sort of get this back from a very large superpower in the world that was, you know, the U.S. Navy, with all their bombs and scary things and all the power that the U.S. had. Something that very sad happened, and that maybe the Navy thought was going to be the end of this movement, this protest, was 2 of the people got lost at sea, kind of mysterious circumstances, but we can't say too much about that.
Yeah.
But 2 of these activists, George Home is like a musician and like a very eloquent speaker, Phil Mitchell, from Kenai. 2 of these leaders, they're so young, they're only like 26 and 27, I think, but they were lost at sea, they never came home. And instead of that squelching the rebellion, because people are getting arrested there, and they weren't just unemployed, like kind of like cruising, like, oh, it's Chinese funny, we should go protest. They were like, Emmett was a doctor about to do his residency, so he had a lot at stake. And so when they went and did these extreme things and were getting arrested, like they had a lot to lose. So there was already a lot of kind of pushback, but and so there were some thoughts of, oh, okay, like, well, people are gone now. This is going to be the end of that, and we're just gonna, you know, have to leave on the island. Like, come on, it's not worth it. But instead, it sparked this huge thing, and people kind of doubled down. A lot of people started rising up and banding together. And after tackling things from the illegal route and showing up and swimming to island, making their way to island, and hiding on island, and then calling in and saying, hey, like you have to stop bombing right now. My uncle's over there, my auntie's over there. They decided to go tackle it in the court. So Emmett Aluli, Uncle Emmett, went to court, and he said, hey, U.S. Navy, you're in violation of laws. You can, we should be able to practice our religious freedom, and there's some other things that you're violating, and they actually won, which was a huge deal. So the consent decree was signed, environmental impact statement, environmental impact survey was, I don't remember top ones. Was requested to be conducted by federal government, so they had to do it. The entire island was placed on the National Historic Register, and PKO, the Kahoʻolawe, which is the sort of hui that was formed, they needed to be conducting ceremonies, so they were like, "No, and what ceremony can we conduct? We're gonna do makahuki." So they walked Bruno around the whole island, and the Navy was still there. It was pretty intense, kind of butting heads at the time. Apparently, they're all in their dress like that is their kihei, they're wearing everything, and they're ready to do their best for Mono and to those ancestors. And the Navy was just like sitting there, kind of like smoking cigars, and they had to just like carry on and continue these ceremonies. But they succeeded. Eventually, the title was Title 10. It was transferred back to the state of Hawaii, and the commission was formed, which is where Caroline and I work. And some money was allocated for a cleanup. So this quick sidebar, this table that they're signing on might be a little odd that they have a wooden table on Kahoʻolawe. That table's from Kenai. It's where a lot of the scheming and plotting and planning happens in Hana, while these young radical Hawaiians were planning how to get the island back. So, I met somebody, one of the uncles said, "No, we're bringing that table over." So they brought it all the way over, and they had the Navy sign on that table, the return of the island. That's pretty cool. I'll talk a little bit about the cleanup.
Yes, and so as Christina mentioned, there was $400 million set aside for the cleanup project of Kahoolawe. So one thing to keep in mind is while the military was doing all these bombings and just, day-to-day like military practices, like at no point did they ever clean anything up. So they would always like, shoot off rounds, like whether it be like, bombs or missiles or just like, ammunition, like nothing was ever cleaned up. And actually when we went, so part of being the PERC staff is getting access guide training, which comes with a certain like education on like unexploded coordinates and like the methods that we use, I guess not the methods that we use, but just like explosives in general and ammunitions in general. And apparently like a lot of ammunitions that only have like a 90% success rate. So like 10% of the time, like you might fire something off and it's just a dart. And so it lands, but it doesn't actually explode. However, the explosive is still inside. And so it can prove dangerous if you were to dig down into machinery and strike it, it could explode. If a fire were to happen and ignite it, it could explode. And so if you just think about like the years and years that the military was doing these bombing drills and practices on the island, it's just like that the sheer amount of explosive that's left is just like kind of staggering. And so the point of the cleanup was like to get all of that cleaned up. And however, by the time the money ran out, only 66% of the island was surface clearing. And they did that by metal detectors. They kind of like you can see like the shape of the clearance areas, they're kind of square because they worked in a grid style. So they just like went grid by grid and used metal detectors and like, detected metals and like removed UXO styles. So they were able to clear 60%, 66% of the island just on the surface, and then 10% was cleared to a depth of 4 feet. And those were the original planting areas so that planting and restoration could be done. And also in base camp, which is in Honakanaya, which you can see, Christina will point it out. Yeah, it's in the Ilia of Kealikahiki, what maybe people at home can see. It's right here. Yes, I'm gesturing to it with the mouse. But anyway, that was cleared. However, that leaves all the red area, which is not cleared and is not allowed access into, prohibited. And also the entire surrounding waters of Kahoʻolawe, they were never cleared. And there was never actually a plan to clear them. Yeah. So that's part of the reason why entry into the marine reserve is prohibited because it is dangerous. If you were to drop a mooring or an anchor or something, it could potentially hit the UXO that's in the water.
Yeah. Oh, and quick note, it wasn't just the US Navy, it was all
Oh,
of
yeah.
the US allies were invited over to practice.
So you get ammunition from all over the world.
Yeah, you can find different names on different bombs. Oh yeah, here's some
Oh, yeah.
pictures.
So here's an example of UXO in the water. And then just like found on land, just like huge like pieces, and then some that are not so obvious, as you can see, it's just blending into the dirt. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, make sure I go back. Yeah, one thing, it'll come up more, but just to sort of lay this out now, because of the bombing the goats and just in general the use of the islands, there is a lot of loss of topsoil and then a crazy amount of erosion to the point where it's like a unnatural island succession where the huge valleys and gulches were formed faster than they should have been
Millions
formed.
of tons a year.
Yeah, so even the clearance, in terms of the clearance, if you say it was cleared to 4 feet, and a couple rains later, it might not be cleared to 4 feet anymore because of the amount of soil that was lost. About 1.2, what is it, 1.9 million
I think
tons
it's
a
1.9.
year?
I mean, and that estimation was calculated back in the day, but I would say around 1.9 million tons a year. I mean, and that was back when, you could look over at Kahoolawe and like you could see the dust cloud
Yeah,
like just over the island. But now with all the restoration effort and unfortunately the spread of invasive plants as well. One positive is that it's kind of helped keep some of the soil in, so that now no longer you no longer see like the red dust cloud, and you no longer see like the degree of like red ring around the island of just like the erosion
yeah.
and the silt and the runoff. We still get, well, we have photos. We'll show you.
Yeah, that's one of the major challenges we have on Kahoolawe. But the vision of the Kirk, I broke it up into a few different slides so we can just absorb it a little easier because that's kind of thick. But on the ocean side of things, the vision and mission sort of is to have a pristine ecosystem again. And because the Kirk is holding it in trust for a native Hawaiian entity that will hopefully be able to retake the island in the future. We're trying to return it in a better condition, obviously, than it was found in, but also in a pristine condition. So terrible things happen, but it's also an opportunity because it's a reserve to hopefully restore it to better condition than some of the other islands are able to be in because no one's around most of the time. So healthy reef ecosystem is our hope. On the land side, the Kino, so Kino is like the bodily form of a god. So Kanaloa is the original name of the island. It's a major Hawaiian god, the god of the deep ocean. Some of the Kino include like whale, turtle, nai'a, so the spinner dolphin, the big tree, things that are creeping, crawling, have like that sort of he'e shape. And the entire island itself is one of the Kino. So restoring the body is in the mission statement, the vision statement. And this was all like, it wasn't just one or two people that agreed on this. This had to go through the commission. People had to hash things out, back in the day and agree on it, get it passed. So we want to reforest, revegetate. The little picture in the corner seems little, but it's very important. It is a Kanaloa plant. So a new genus was named because of this, or new to us. There was a mystery plant on the pollen record for a long, long time, and people were like, botanists were like, oh, I wonder where this plant went. And eventually we checked out on a little tiny sea stack that the goats hadn't gotten to on Kahoolawe off of the shore. There was this plant that no one had seen before, to the point where it's Kahoʻolawe, Kanaloa Kahoʻolawe or something. And so this plant had been missing, but it had been very prevalent in the Hawaiian Islands before. But the last place it was left was surprisingly in this very damaged, battered place. On Kahoolawe. So that's the Kanaloa plant, Kapalapalu Kanaloa, the gentleness of Kanaloa. And right now it's not on Kahoolawe, but it's being propagated to hopefully be returned there.
Yeah, and then this is Wahala, I think. It's another, looks like a weed, but it's a tough little native plant that grows on Kahoʻolawe. Here's a couple other little friends. There's a sphinx moth, black-burned sphinx moth. Sub clade that's only on Kahoʻolawe. There's some Nio with the moth on there. There's a quill butterfly. So there's and the quill butterfly is hanging out on some ali'i.
Which plant?
Oh, the kind of little plant. You can type it. Caroline's typing the plant name into the chat. Okay. Continuing on with the vision, along with just the physical and kind of ecological restoration, there should be a cultural revitalization. So they want Honolulu to be a Uhonua and Wahipana, or a sacred place, and like a safe place, where cultural practices flourish. And the Pico, your Pico. If you look on the chart or the map, the long chain of islands, if you're navigating up, you want to aim for kind of the center. You don't want to aim too high or too low or too east or too west. So Kahoʻolawe, there's a place called Kealikahiki, the pathway to Tahiti. And it's on Kahoʻolawe, and it was where people would aim for when they're coming up from South Pacific. So we're thinking about not just as a navigation, physically navigating, but also spiritually. That'll be the Pico, the center. And from there, we're hoping Hawaiian kind things will spread out throughout the islands from here. And that's part of the vision. There's Hokulea visiting. There's an old wee baby tree, the grandparent wee baby tree.
There's actually multiple trees, I realized. There's at least 3 trees.
Exciting. Yeah. Got used for target practice. It has been there, 500 to 700 years. And so it's seen a bunch of different eras of the island, but my boss likes to say it's the representative of the Hawaiian spirit. It looks all gnarled, but it's very beautiful because it's lasted all of this time. And it's still here. That's Derek Marr. He's one of the kua, or leaders in the Kio, giving a talk at the summit. Yeah, there's there's altars that are set up, but they're all like modern, or a lot of them are modern. There's some mua that were found kind of in disrepair, and they're being repaired now. Yeah, mission in general of the Kirk, provide meaningful safe use. So safe is very important. As we mentioned, there's a lot of hazards.
Yep.
Not only is the island arid and remote, but there's bombs and
Really limits the things that can be done,
yeah,
especially in terms of building structures or planting.
digging,
Even, yeah, planting. How
things
do you
that
plant without digging?
things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
This is a Mo'olii, which is the cultural summit of the island. It's only a few feet lower than the geological summit. But there's this kind of unusual lele, which is, instead of having 4 feet, it has 3 legs because the winds are so high over there. Kahoʻolawe is very windy. Has a lot of predominant winds. So anything that's hanging on up there has to be hanging on. And it partially shapes the phenotypes of all the fauna and flora up there. So if you see the trees, even the kiawe trees are kind of like A-shaped. So that wee tree, is leaning over. Yeah, they're not standing straight up like you would find maybe at Paley Pond or something. They're leaning over, but that's the way they survive, and that's totally fine. That's how they're supposed to be. Yeah, you want to say the name of that rock?
Yeah, so this is a special bellstone, and I don't know if we have like another photo of it, but it's like, you imagine it's like cracked down the middle, and it's called Pohakuahu Aikupele Kapili o Keaweiki. Sorry.
Yeah, the Stone of Dark Magic of Keaweiki.
Yeah.
So it was and apparently it was brought up here in 2 pieces, and it's huge. So
It's massive.
yeah, so it must have been important and scary. You don't like to touch it. Yeah, so some more examples of culture coming back, which is very exciting. Hokulea and Mokia came by, and some of their protocols were written just for these new movements because some stuff was lost.
and some stuff's coming back, which is really exciting. This is Kahoʻolawe, where we have our maybe base camp. Caroline edited the front end without me. Yeah, so you want to talk about the
Yeah, yeah. So basically like, I mean, Christina already kind of went over it, but technically, within like the state is like, the governmental system, like the Kirk is underneath the state of Hawaii. It's underneath like the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And as Christina mentioned, it's tasked with holding the whole island and the surrounding waters in trust for a future recognized Hawaiian entity, sovereign Hawaiian entity.
Yeah.
So
The pueo, we have a lot of them that come over to eat the mice.
Mice, unfortunate, well, cool. So they come over and get fat on the mice during the summer.
they try to weed out the invasives, which is similar to what we try to do. We come over,
Yeah.
try to weed them out as well.
Their own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, some quick.
I mean,
That's how big Kahoolawe is and where it is. It's all in one of which is why we divide it further into EVs to
Kind of make things make sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty little.
And as you can see, this is like it's part of the evening.
Or it's part of the ahupua'a.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
part of the
well.
Kahoolawe, so.
Yeah, and then those holy holidays are on island. We don't always like to share photos of fish because we don't want people to come poach them, but you guys are conservationists, so it's okay.
This is a photo of the boat that we go out to island with. Yeah, so a little logistics insight is that the only way that we get out to Kahoolawe with volunteers is with our boat. So our boat's in Opua. And it is a landing craft. So at the top you see this part comes down because there's no dock or anything on Kahoolawe. It's just a beach landing in Honokanaya. And so we'll pull up with all the gear and sometimes even a Polaris. As you can see on here, there's actually like a little Polaris on here, the Mahindra's on here. And so like, if conditions are good, just pull up to the beach, let down the ramp, and then drive off the supplies and all the volunteers and everything. So it's really important to conserve like when you're coming. So just like don't bring too much gear. The space is limited. And as you can see, this is like what I was describing.
A perfect day.
This is ideal. Oh my gosh, it's pristine. This is what you want to see when you pull up to the shore. It's just like no shore break, and it's just flat, and then like everyone's just easily able to offload.
Ashley.
Unfortunately, this is not like what happens all the time. So there's a lot of like touch and go, or sometimes
Swim and go.
swim. Yeah, so sometimes we actually have to swim everything in. There's a whole period of months where our boat was unavailable to us because it was being repaired. So generously, other people allowed us to use their boats, but it's not like a landing craft like a hua. So we just had to kind of park a little bit offshore and then use the Zodi to like shuttle everything in and out. So
Yeah, and sometimes it's too rough for the Zodi, so we're a lot offshore.
yeah,
But-
a little insight into the logistical challenges of performing the restoration work in a remote place.
But
So
we felt prepared because we went through MUP.
it's true.
Oh, this is from
Oh yeah, so I mentioned one way is to get to Kahoolawe is to go by boat. However, once every other month, the ocean program does a helicopter survey of the island. So like we circumnavigate the island via helicopter, staying about 100 feet off the ground, and we're just looking at the state of the island. We're also monitoring for any like violators, like people who aren't supposed to be there. We check out the state of the corals. We check out the presence or absence of seabirds, Hawaiian monk seals, anything that we find notable, then we'll like note that down and like keep that log of data. And like these are photos from the area survey.
Yeah, there's one of the sea stacks where
Yeah, so imagine that's where like the Kahoolawe plant was found, like in one of the sea stacks.
they used to go water it. They would have this helicopter. They had all these crazy pilots from the cleanup days and they can do anything. So they'd go
Like, yeah, we'll
up
go.
on one skeg and have someone kind of like precariously dangle
Lean
out.
out the helicopter, like water this plant, like the helicopter's still on and like, yeah.
And nowadays, yeah, we can't imagine. Oh, here's some cuties that are found. One of the dangers of those cats being left behind. Like I mentioned, they're extra special, they're intense survival cats. We used to try to donate them to the Humane Society and they said, no more, these cats are unadoptable. One of our volunteers described it as they probably drink whiskey and smoke cigars because they're so intense. They eat anything they eat. We see them running down the cliffs. They eat centipedes. They can
Crabs.
live off nothing. Yeah, but one thing they
Crabs.
do found is the seabirds, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hawaii, they like to nest on the ground. But yeah, cuties, we have Wukani. Ukwa is one of the names of the sea stacks. And there's a Kahoʻolawe with the red tail tropic bird. Extra cute. Oh, I forgot I put that in there. Extra cute. Yeah. There's a pueo chick.
If
Go
you could see.
around. Yeah. There's a threat.
We do have cat cam set up so to monitor cats. And then we spoke of erosion earlier, and here's like just a visual of like the level of erosion that can happen.
And sedimentation, yeah.
Yeah,
occurs.
exactly. And that could be just after one rain event. So, you know, Kahoolawe is super dry and arid. And unfortunately though, it is subject to like periods of just like squall or just like heavy rain. And so due to the lack of like topsoil and plants relative to just landmass, like whenever it rains, all the gullies that have been carved out, like the water just like
Yeah, it
slants
picks up a
down.
lot of speed, grabs any leftover soil was hard to grab by a light soaking rain.
Right. Yeah, because underneath the topsoil is like hard pan,
pan.
which is just like it's
Baked
just basically
clay.
baked clay, yeah, and the water just bounces off of it, like it cannot be absorbed like into, especially like when it's coming down at that velocity and amount.
But the plants really help. Here's some sediment on top of the coral, which is pretty sad to see.
Yeah.
Because we see like, oh, like healthy underneath. We see the bright colors, and then we see the layer of dirt on top. It
Yeah.
smothers a limu too. Oh, that's a piece of good news. We had to break it up.
Shoot, yeah. So you know, we don't only see just sedimentation on the helicopter survey. Sometimes we can see monk seals, and this particular time, we saw a monk seal with a pup, which was good to see.
April?
Yeah, it was in April. Yeah, it was April of this year. So, you know, it's just like it's heartening to see like signs of life on Kahoolawe. So
Yeah, I see more monk seals there than I see turtles.
yeah, the monk seals love it there.
Yeah, I guess because there's nobody around.
Green maps. This is just an example of an aerial survey. So like every time we see something, we have GPS and we note it, and like we create a map and you know log all the data of like where and when and what we're seeing.
UH has a cool GIS class.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that. Yeah. Oh, another thing that has occurred over close contact is marine debris.
Yeah, which we have seen from helicopter surveys. You see like massive like nets in the water or something like that.
The perk of the helicopter survey, at first I thought like, why would we do this? It's expensive, but you can cover the whole island in about an hour, which you can't do on a boat. So it's pretty nice. We can, yeah. And the snapshot of that data set from aerial surveys is our longest running data set. So it's pretty neat that we can have a little bit of like, yeah,
Yes.
scary. Oh yeah, this is kind of cool. You know, like Camilo on Big Island, how they have that trash collecting beach where all the currents collect there. Kind of cool is like that on Kahoolawe. It's a scary. On the cultural side of things, it is one of the homes of it's the water home of Kahoʻolawe. So Kami's brother, the shark god, and shapeshifter, kind of a cool shark. It is very, very sharky there.
Yes.
Yeah, our boss Sidebar did like because he's all into ocean stuff, he did shark tagging and shark counting in that bay, and he was so excited. He presented it to the community, and he's like, "Yay! Like big news, guys! There's a lot of sharks." And he said he got no reaction from all these kupuna, and they're just kind of looking at him, and he's like, "Well," and then finally one of the aunties in the back is like, "We know. Look at the map. Look at the name. Like we know that there's sharks there. What we wouldn't have called it that if there was no sharks there." So he's like, "Well, it's a good." He's like, you know, that made me learn. But he's like, it's a good example of different types of science, the Western science, and then the, you know, thousands of years of observations backing each other up. So that was something. I don't like to get in the water over there. It's very muddy all the time.
Yeah, it's literally just all silt, like the bay, like you cannot
there's no visibility, like at any point. So,
And yeah, people seeing some big sharks there.
yeah, you see
and-
monk seals swimming around in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've seen a few sharks swim hook up
Yeah.
too. I heard of other big ones. And then there's yeah, the way that bay is a very sharp, steep area. So the sun sets at like 4 o'clock. It's kind of shadowy.
Sorry, this is a
Yeah.
kind of a dumb question. Is that on the east side of the island?
Shoot, I forgot we don't have a map up there. We'll bring the map back up.
Yeah,
in
let's
a
bring
sec.
them back there. I mean, yeah, I think it is on the east. Yeah, go back.
Here we are. So Kahoʻolawe is like
It's this.
carved out.
For the people, it's right here. I always imagine it kind of looks like a shark took a bite out of the island.
Yeah, it does look
Yeah.
like that, and it feels that way. Yeah, and it's like more well, it's a shallow section, but that's the side with the more sea cliffs compared to the flat, shallow other side. So every 5 years or so, we do a big cleanup, and airlift, Jurassic Park style,
All the trash.
yeah, trash out. So it takes a long time to organize this project. It's like a bunch of people piling things up and then in this case putting them into bags and organizing. We just happen to hop on the tail end. It's about when we were hired to load stuff out and bring it out, and then we wait for it to collect again, which it will come back. But it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff you can find there. You don't need to bring slippers, you just find a new pair. You're
Yeah,
able to me.
Yeah, yeah. We were able to donate a lot of the plastic to local business Malama Maui Nui, and they were able to recycle the plastic and like melt it down and extrude it into different molds for things.
They're making like, picnic benches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And bricks and things. They
Where
let
does
us
all
play
that
with it.
debris come from? Does it come just kind of locally, or does it come from all over the world, or is this just a,
It goes from all over. Yeah,
from
we
all over
it's
the
just like a
world.
natural collection spot, yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can read on the buoys and things there, stuff from Japan. Yeah,
Yeah,
Michiko's
Japan.
great. But yeah, a lot of I kind of want fishermen to just come and take buoys back.
I know, yeah, but then Dean's like, they just end up back in the water. It's like, but still,
but buy a new one.
yeah.
But yeah, a lot of fishing gear, but all kind of things. We found
Mhm.
toys, random stuff. Some got donated at one point because we've been doing these for a long time. There's a trash exhibit in Germany, and so they just brought like a trailer full of it and poured it out in a whole way. Just one thing. Oh, more
got-
good news.
Yeah, more good news. Well, this is part of, so we talked about helicopter survey, and also on island we do ocean survey, which this part I feel like really MOP has prepared us
Very
for very
MOP.
well, because I mean it was my first experience even like IDing like coral in the water, just being like comfortable in the water, the idea of like snorkel surveys, and like you guys know about Quest. So we both went through Quest.
They've met
and-
Donna, they know about Quest.
Yeah, you all know. And so like I cannot speak highly enough about how much Quest has prepared me for like a lot of the work that we do at the Kirk, and just even just opportunities and like connecting with people who are like in the in the same field and like doing like the same work, and just like different opportunities that come along with that, because we do snorkeling and sometimes we even do scuba, even though it's not maybe for collecting data, but we also scuba for pipe repair.
Yeah, we had to
Just anything,
use it for survival.
yeah. But these are just photos from some of the in-water surveys that we've done.
Or walking around surveys. We
Yeah,
do
walking
coastal
around
hike and
surveys.
check for monk seals.
Yeah.
There are about 2 monk seals per time.
We average 2.5 monk seals per survey.
Yeah. Oh, here's some
Yeah, here's some
survival style.
photos of, so on Kahoʻolawe, we do bring like jugs of like, purified water for drinking water, but we also operate off of a reverse osmosis system. And so like we get the water from the ocean and then have a purification process, and like with the filters and everything, and then it comes out as potable water. However, a large storm event totally washed up the
Storm event
intake
right
valve.
too.
Yeah. And so we had to then run another valve out there, and we were part of that initiative. So, lift bag training, that really came in handy.
Yeah. Not even involved, just the intake itself. Yeah, if you think about a water maker on a ship or on a boat, you never have to worry about where you're running out of seawater. But on land, I realize it's a lot trickier because you have to stick a little straw in the ocean basically and
Yeah.
make sure that straw is not going to get damaged or or thrown up on shore, even though it's connected to an 800-pound roll
Right.
cage. So the conditions we were working in were not calm. It's more like my first year at Quest where you're getting washed away and walked
Yeah,
around.
that really helps. Yeah, and just like that chaotic nature sometimes of like how you can just be like thrown around like in the ocean and then, or like something goes wrong, you have to like change up the plan on the spot. Like so just that kind of like flexibility that you like learn in Quest and
Huh.
like the science diver program, like it really prepares you.
Yeah, and the appreciation.
Sign language underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
With
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah, and the appreciation for if you see a cute fish, then it brightens your spirits. I feel like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have that if I was just a normal little work diver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit of science that we got to do recently.
Yes, we installed temperature loggers in Honokanaya. And so this is what they look like when we first installed them. And then after, I don't know if anyone could see it.
Yeah, if only we could get that cleaner ass to
Yeah.
clean our logger instead.
I know, but they won't do what we tell them to do. That's okay. They serve their own purpose.
They have other clients.
Yeah, so you can see right here is the logger. So, and we found out that it's tied to like an anchor that's just lodged in the sand. And depending on the season though, it's completely buried. And so, you know, we can only access it sometimes, but they're good up to 5 years. So
Yeah, we had to find something. We had to talk to a bunch of different people that make sondes and loggers and things and ask them to make sure that it was rugged enough for what we're gonna do. And some of them were just like, don't buy our product. Like, it's not gonna last. It's not worth, thousands of dollars.
$1,000, then it's not gonna last. Yeah.
They're like, how often are you gonna be out there? Wait, you cancel some? Oh no. Don't get our thing. And I was like, you don't want to sell us stuff. So that's how the technology is coming up, but it's not all tough enough for
Right.
Kahoolawe right now. But these hobo loggers, they're pretty tough. So Star uses them too.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't check.
We
We have a few
This
minutes.
is very
So good.
quick. Yeah. So this is more of like the terrestrial restoration work. Right now we're planting aki grass on a coastline in order to kind of preserve the sand, and also the network of roots acts as erosion mitigation. So it kind of like filters out the water. And this is like action shots of Christina planting.
And it grabs the sediment as it's flowing down. So we find
This is the planting process.
yeah, a kuli. It's a little native succulent that's very tough. It lives off salt spray like
Yeah.
ackiyaki.
And then there's more planting. And then you just skip through like the turtles. Yeah, so here it's kind of a full circle moment for me because like Donna said, like I started with the turtle rescue and like the turtle and response hotline. And just recently in May, like we had the first recorded turtle nesting. I think you just click on it. The turtle nesting and like confirmed hatching of turtles on Kahoʻolawe. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
So, but
we're
it's okay,
trying
maybe it
our
will
best.
play. Okay, it will play.
Hey.
So this is footage of 2 surviving turtles.
That wouldn't have survived if we weren't there.
Exactly.
That's Sheldon Klinovich from Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah. So this is Honokanaya, so you can see the difference between the 2 turtles.
We had to have them crawl on the beach instead of helping it at first because they have to imprint on the beach.
Yeah, Sheldon was saying that like the turtles like just like pounding or just like walking on the beach is actually part of the imprinting process, so they know that should be safe to come back to. So it was a pretty special moment. So turtles, they reproduce or they lay eggs about like
They're helping that one.
once they reach maturity,
Have a
which is
permit.
like 30 years. So it could be that like 30 years ago there was a turtle that nested on Kahoʻolawe and like nobody knew, nobody saw.
Yeah, in the middle of all this.
Yeah, because like who would be
craziness
looking
going
for that? So it's just kind of a great like way to, or just like really heartening to see like I said earlier, like life coming back to Kahoʻolawe.
on. Yeah.
And also Sheldon was saying, like, who was a NOAA scientist on that trip, or no,
Fish
the fish and wildlife
Yeah, no,
scientist.
people too.
She was saying that, and also studies have shown this as well, like
Yeah.
the turtle would not have laid their nest if it had been like buffalo grass in the sand, which is like one of the invasive grasses that's like encroaching on the beach. Like instead, like where the turtle laid the nest was like in ackiyaki, and so that's been shown to like be preferred by turtles. And I just thought that like that's a direct result of like the Kirk's restoration efforts, that like the turtle was able to come and actually able to do what it's like does naturally and reproduce on the island. And so this is photos of us excavating the nest, and then we returned the shells like to the nest, like once the nest was excavated. The first nest had like a 90 4% survival rate, and then the second nest had 100%.
100, which is a big deal.
Yeah, because we excavated it and we found those 2 turtles that you just saw, and we were able to release them. So it was pretty cool because that's actually pretty rare to excavate a nest and not find any dead turtles or anything like that. So
Or little beluga turtles that
Yeah.
aren't formed yet.
half, yeah, because sometimes they're only half formed. And so.
Yeah. Oh, there's our janitor that we hired to keep the intake clean on the osmosis.
Yeah, live footage.
Yeah, he's great. Or she, they're great.
And this Dean, that's
Yeah,
our
he's
boss.
the boss.
And yeah, I know we kind of cut it close to the time this class ends, but if anybody has any questions
Quick
about the
questions.
curve or about, you know, our trajectory from MOP to the curve, or just anything, just
Thank
I have a
you.
question. How did you go from doing whatever you're doing the day before you started doing this to doing this? Like, what was your into this? I got some friends who were like really interested in helping with cleanup. I'm not interested in helping with cleanup, and a lot of you can't go, but obviously you can. So what got you to go from not doing this to doing this? Like, what were your stories?
what do you mean, like doing working for the curve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you,
Well, I mean,
I'm hired under a grant, so
yeah,
like
you're hired under
that's
the grant.
how I got able to be there. It's because like they like got this funding, so they're like, okay, we can hire someone. But our boss kept saying, like, oh, I haven't had this big of a team in a really long time.
Yeah,
We're
because
like,
he had nobody on his team. But I think I would credit because I was looking for a job you know, in conservation and like, you know, something that I could use my like MOP training for, and like I had told Donna this, and like Donna told me about this opportunity, and then so I interviewed with Dean Tukichi, who's my boss, and then I was able to be hired.
Mom, right?
Yeah, he also went through MOP.
Yeah.
So
how long have you guys been working?
over here 2 years.
2 years.
Oh, this way.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Probably the max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was.
So obviously you don't live over there. So
No.
do you live in Maui?
Yes, so I live on Maui, and then we go out to Island about once a month, and then before, like, we go out with volunteers once a month, 2 different volunteer groups, and then like a few days before the volunteer groups arrive, we bring the base camp guys who are a company named Dawson. We contract them to run base camp. So the base camp that's left over from the military days, but like now, like it's being used for Kirk purposes. So we bring them out there, and then it has like, you know, like living quarters. It has like, you know, a kitchen, like place to eat. It has composting toilets, things like that. So once we're out there, then you know we can live there for like, you know, 2 weeks at a time, and then come out. You know, everything shuts down, and then we come back to Maui.
Yeah, I used to run 24/7, but we're low on funding.
Yeah, it's really
Wait.
funding based. Like we could run more, but no, yeah.
Yeah, and then Burke isn't the only one that goes out.
Yeah.
The other stewardship organization, the Kahoʻolawe, there's the OGs. They go out to Kahoolawe, which is on the other side, and they it's a lot less luxurious and more camping, but they still like they can bring out a lot more people. So if
Yeah.
you're like, man, like I haven't been able to get out with Kirk, you can try with the PKO side as well. You might be able to slot in over there.
How often do you do aerial surveys?
Once every other month.
But it
And
depends on money.
that's true. If we try to get, we're writing currently like another skill that like we've been learning is grant writing. So we look for grants so we can, you know, get money to perform more helicopter surveys. But right now it's once every other month ish.
And then it can get canceled.
It was canceled this month due to wind. So, you know, that was, yeah.
The helicopters stay out there, or is it here?
Oh no, it's here. It's Windward Aviation.
Yeah, they do a bunch of DLNR stuff.
Yeah, we don't own the helicopter. That would be nice.
So no longer goats, still cats, or no
Yes.
cats?
No longer goats. Unfortunately, still cats. I think it was estimated like
500?
yeah, 500, around 500 cats currently on
So
island.
are you eradicating those? Or no?
Not right now. There's like a little bit of just trying to get evidence that they're there with camera traps and stuff. But the grant that the restoration side coworker that we have, he had like was trying to get money for fencing and then like or like eradicating cats, but the funding for that is low right now.
They're looking into getting like traps, like in
Yeah.
traps.
Traps
so-
would probably work, not fencing for cats.
Yeah,
The
not
fencing
fencing.
is so expensive too,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, we should put the fencing to save the birds.
Yeah,
That's
but
for deer and
Yeah.
pit.
it's
Exactly.
very
That's why
difficult.
they didn't go the way of fencing. Yeah.
Also, it's impossible to dig as much as we would love to dig.
Yeah, exactly. So
You can just send them to Lanai at the cat sanctuary.
I know. They would like take over, I think. Any other questions?
Where's the boat docked normally when it's here?
Kihei boat ramp.
Yeah, trailers.
Okay.
We have it on a old 5-ton army truck.
Yeah, if you go to Kihei boat ramp, you might pass by the boathouse. It's like yeah, it's just like right directly behind.
I've seen it come out of the water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The big thing next to the boat ramp, there's like a big. You guys still have the washing thing?
We do,
Mhm.
yeah.
Little
That's
shower
really
for
fun.
the car wash.
They have this giant thing that
It's like
goes over
pipes.
with
Yeah.
water
Little
sprays,
sprays.
and so they drive the boat through that like a car wash.
That's the initial rinse because like the ultimate enemy is the salt
Corrosion
and
never
the corrosion.
sleeps.
Yeah.
How long is it to like get there?
Well, that depends
If
on
it's-
several factors.
Yeah, if it's like perfect conditions, we can get there in like an hour.
Mhm.
If you're just going to Hakiwawa, it's a lot shorter. So instead of 25 miles, you only have to go like 7 miles.
And for reference, like if you're in Kihei and you're looking at like Molokini and like past Molokini, it's like you're kind of looking at Hakiwawa. So
Mhm.
it's like that's like very direct. But Honokanaya, like you saw on the map, it's like you gotta go past Molokini and like all the way down and then all the way across
Around.
the island, around the island. So it's on the other side. So yeah.
But yeah, so we've had trips where it took like 4 hours to get home
4 hours,
because it was bad or
It feels like as though you're going backwards, like in the water, and like which is like slamming down. So
yeah, she's not meant to cut through the waves because she's flat on the bottom because she's meant to land. So
yeah.
that's not ideal for
Yeah.
speeding along in rough conditions.
But, you know,
we
knock
get
on
there.
wood.
Yeah, and then
she's
if
hand-
anything goes wrong on the boat, obviously it'll take a little longer. But we have a lot of redundant safety measures built in.
Mhm.
Like I call
If
And
you
one,
want-
oh, go ahead.
If you wanted to help with the cleanup, how would you volunteer for that?
You can try to jump on in a group. Yeah, we'll try to get them off.
Yeah, and then also if you go to the Kirk website, just like Google Kirk.com and it's like volunteering, and there is like a volunteer sign up sheet, and you can put your name on the list to volunteer and like put in the notes that it's like MOP program. It would actually be great to get like a MOP group out. Like if you have enough people who are currently in MOP or people who like have, you know, they've graduated MOP or they're like affiliated with MOP, you guys get a group together, we can get you on the volunteer list. However, right now it's about like, I would say 1.5 to 2 years booked. So if you guys know that you'll still be around in like 1.5 to 2 years, then we'd love
Maybe
you guys
what
to
we
come
could
out.
do is, do we have to have the exact people? Or
No,
could we
it's gonna
say
be
we're
like
gonna do a
maximum group of
mock
15.
trip,
Yeah,
and we can pick a day?
yeah. Well, we will show,
Future.
we'll like, yeah, we make the schedule in advance. So, you know, we'll come back to you with like, okay, these dates are available.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can do something like that. and
Yeah.
then Even if you're already out of MOP.
Yeah.
We'll keep a list of names of
Yeah.
people who would want to do it.
And just to be clear, like the cleanup portion is like, it's not being funded anymore, like the UXO cleanup. So right now it's all restoration work and like maintenance of the island.
But, so we could go out and plant plants.
Yeah,
Mhm.
plant plants is the main thing. And then, I mean, in 2 years, like who knows, like what kind of other project will be
Yeah.
funded through
Like
grants.
go
So,
back to FO eventually.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask like what the volunteers, like what their day-to-day is like when they're there.
Might be
When you wake up, you have breakfast.
Yeah, it might be as hard as shoveling gravel and lifting bags of gravel, or it might be as gentle as like digging in the sand and putting plants in the ground. It's very hot,
Yeah.
dry.
They might be walking long distances in the
Um,
sun, like carrying maybe like 50 pounds. I mean, that'd be rare, but like, yeah, you wouldn't have to carry that much stuff. Just like, you know, water and equipment with you. But
Yes.
yeah, but I mean,
We try to put swimming in every day.
the work day is pretty much from like 7 to, well, I mean, like the day is planned out basically like from 7 a.m. to like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we did just have a group come out. You know some of them, Donna, Jayton, and Waylon from HIMB, but Nalu Studies we had a group of
The nuns,
younger,
like,
they were high school and they did some coral surveys too. They brought out the little coral cards and transects and
yeah, so it's possible, like,
quadrats.
if you guys, wanted to do like something in the ocean,
Put in a
like
request.
a kind of survey or something, then
Oh, yeah, we'll
we
slot
can
it
do
in.
that. Yeah. Right now, we're also doing like beach slope measurement too, so things like that. Beach slope measurement,
Emery
the Emery
profile.
profile. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Any other questions? Does anybody from on Zoom have any questions?
But you had a question.
How long is the volunteer when we volunteer to go out with you? I know you mentioned sometimes it's 2 weeks.
Well, that, I mean, like, that's how long like the camp could run, like in case of like, weather or something like that. But normally it's like, it'll be one group will go out on the weekend and one group will go out on the weekday. So the weekend group, we would take them on Friday and then bring them back on Monday. And then we bring the weekday group on that same Monday and then take them back on Thursday. Yeah, so at any point you're there for like 4 days.
You need 4 days of free time,
You do, yeah, 4 days of free time.
but you'll be back on the fourth day. But I mean, occasionally something will,
Sometimes we've had to
Cut out
take people
trips
early,
short.
yeah, just because of the weather, like we are beholden to the weather.
always subject to change
Yeah.
or cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're flexible, it's really helpful because you might be able to jump in on a trip. If you
Yeah.
have last minute dropouts or
Mhm.
a trip gets moved, and that's really hard because as an adult, it's hard to find 4 whole days usually.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thanks for staying longer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, one more question.
Okay, okay.
You're saying like, this program's funded, that isn't, who's your funding source and how do you get money from that?
All over the place.
So well, I mean, the main funding source is like what the legislation, like the state government, like, so like federal funding, like, and that like funds our core position. So like the head of the Kirk, he goes to the ledge all the time and like try to like get more money for like permanent positions
At the state level?
at the state level. Yeah. So hopefully, like, if more funding can be allocated to us, then we can have like a wider budget, or just we can afford to hire people like full time. Because now the only thing that's federally funded are all the positions. And then we have,
Except for mine.
I know, sadly, as of now, like we're working to get like permanent funding for another position. But then, yeah, all like the restoration work and all the projects, those are all grant funded. So yeah, one thing I feel like is really common in organizations like the Kirk is the need for grant writing and like getting money, which is like not something that I got into this for, but it's like the necessary skill that's like people, it's like really, really, like if you could learn one thing extra is like how to write a grant. That's so key.
And so with all the reporting.
Yeah, the reporting and everything.
And then saying, hey, we couldn't do it because our boat broke. Can we have an extension?
Yeah, it's really just communication and organization. So
Yeah, so we've had NOAA, Fish and Wildlife. From the federal level, we've had the Institute of Museum and Library Services. We've had Department of the Interior, I think. And then we partner with a lot of groups. So if groups are coming out to do like the Cub surveys, Donna was part of that. It was like with what, RCUH is Kahoolawe underwater baseline surveys. We partner with TNC.
yeah, the good thing is if like the more you look, like there are funding opportunities out there. It's just like being able to seek them out and then apply to them and then receive them. So
Get some private funders to like philanthropy people who like,
I mean, you can sign up to
Exactly.
donate, but we don't have like on that level of like, yeah.
Wow, if you know someone.
Yeah.
right? Help people later.
Hello.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of people that wants to help, so that's nice. Like now and then people come and they're like, I have this, even if it's like items or their time or their expertise, or
Yeah.
they're like, I can drive. Yeah.
People
can
have
use
donated like,
both.
yeah, like, even like some companies, like when we couldn't run a hua, it's like they like, we were able to like use their vessel. What's the red boat? Red line.
Oh, I think
I think we had to pay
them.
them, never
But-
mind. But they were good.
Uncle Johnny with Hawaiian Canoe Club,
Yeah.
Kualani, he runs an escort boat, but then he was like, oh, just use my boat, go to Kahoolawe, because he was part of the movement to take back the island. So he's like, there's everywhere. If you just talk to any old uncles, you might be surprised. Like the more I just bring up like, oh yeah, Kahoolawe, then they're like, oh, I
Cool.
went there in the 80s. I was there like when the Navy was there in the 70s. I was like, whoa. But So there's a lot of people that got involved and they're so casual about it. They're like, oh, I swam back. I'm like,
Yes, swim.
yeah, they're really hardcore.
Back.
Yeah, yeah, people like, because they would just jump on like, oh yeah, I'm going, you want to come? They'll go. Yeah, they just sneak on over, even though you could get arrested. So there's stories of people that
Yeah.
had to come back because they were on probation. So they're like, oh, yeah, we're gonna. And they're like, oh, how do we get back? They're like, oh, we get arrested. And they're like, I can't get arrested. I'm on probation. So they had to like
Oh.
find a way back, paddling or swimming.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of wild stories from back in the day. Things have mellowed out a lot. That's good. So Michiko, we only plant in cleared areas. So yes, the metal detector was used before we even decided to be there, but there's some places where we can't dig. And so Paul, who's our senior botanist, he has a bunch of experiments
Yeah.
from how many years he's been there? Like 40 years. Of like he'll put like a little kupuka, he'll pile up rocks and then he'll lay the plant down and add mulch and then put rocks on
Yeah.
top instead of digging.
Basically just alternate methods of planting without having to dig. So,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he looks at like Africa and like different arid different places that have a similar challenge and then
Yeah.
kind of takes from that.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
Little off that topic, when you were talking earlier in the hour that the Navy was responsible for cleaning up, but did you say that they didn't actually?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what happened is, so there was 10 years and that amount of money, and a bunch of about half the time went into just like planning, because they had to do surveys, they had to bring in experts, and they had to grid everything out and be like, how are we even going to do this? We had to bring in, it was like the biggest helicopter operation.
In the entire United States, just in
No, I
terms
think
of
the world.
in the world.
the
Okay, yeah.
time.
But, I mean, even to this day, I don't think it's been topped because like just the amount of helicopter flights, because they were moving people just all around the island itself, like from place to place, because like there's a few there's like one road basically.
But they had to build the
And
road.
they had to build the road, so that hadn't been built at the time. Basically, it was like a big mismanagement. Well, it's like, well, it was
a big project.
It was a big project, and the money ran out before it was finished.
But
And
the time ran out too.
the time also ran out. So like there was a point where it's like the decision had to be made, like,
Mhm.
do we hold the Navy accountable for their promise to clean the island? Or do we take the island back into the state? Like, do we separate ties from the Navy so that, the state has control? And so the decision was made, well, let's transfer control to the state, because then now the state agencies, so the Kirk and the PKO, it's like now they have agency over how the island will be treated. Because before you had to have a Navy escort to do anything on island. You had to have pre-approval, you had to go by their rules. And it was a big hindrance to any kind of thing that
Yeah,
they needed to
any
do.
cultural anything if you're trying to.
Yeah. So that was a tough decision that was made.
It's like if the Navy had to follow you into your church and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go walk up the aisle, and they're like, I'm with you the whole
Yeah.
way. So they're like, you know what? It's not worth it. We'll start restoration, because the
Yeah.
cleanup is also very destructive. So all the blow in place, or even like moving ordnance and then blowing it up.
Which is what was done with found UXO. So
Mhm.
like it wasn't removed, it was like just blown.
Yeah,
Because
it's
that's the
not
only way
safe to move
to
it.
like neutralize the explosive, is to set it off.
I think Maya has a question.
Oh yeah.
See, has-
Question?
Like, oh yeah, Maya's online.
Maya?
You're unmute.
Maya, do you have a question? You're on mute. You are muted.
Oh, I was wondering, it was a little while ago. But I was wondering if you guys do like spay and neuters with like the cats, if you like when you catch them, if you ever do something like that.
That might have been happening.
At one point, but that was way before we were hired. And so
Okay.
there's not currently like a TNR, what is it, trap and
Yeah.
neuter release. There's not that kind of program going on in Kahoolawe. Right now it's a lot of monitoring. Yeah.
I would love to do like, because there's an idea for kind of like how on Lehua they poison the rats and mice. But on Kahoolawe it's like, no, that would poison one seal, we shouldn't do that. But I would love to do maybe like a mouse birth control. Very expensive.
Yeah, I know. Or mouse or cat birth control. But then there's plenty of interactions between cats and the monk seals. Like even on the beach, you can see like the seal haul out pattern in the sand, like surrounded by cat tracks. So it's like there's always that interaction. And so it's like we don't want the monk seals getting like cross contamination or anything like that.
Yeah, there are ninja the toxoplasma.
Yeah.
Is there still lots of mice at base camp?
There's a lot of mice.
So there's there's the season of the mice, and then there's the season of the
Have to pay for
polio.
that, too.
Yeah, so that's like, there's not always a lot of mice, but there are many months where
Mouse
it's,
bloom.
yeah, the mouse, we do call it the mouse bloom, so it's like seasonal,
You have to hide
unfortunately,
everything.
yeah.
They get everywhere.
They're so cute, but like, wow,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
they
everywhere.
crawl on you when you're
Yeah,
sleeping.
they have no fear,
Yeah,
they have no boundaries. Yeah.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pop. They have big ears.
Little baby ones are very.
Yeah, no, I mean, all
They're all
the mice are in Kahoolawe. I mean, maybe the
all
biggest one is like this big. It's like, they're all really tiny, yeah.
But they are good at jumping.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you
Staying mom.
so much for coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you can, like, if you go on the Kirk website and like email the volunteer coordinator and just like mention that, like, if you want to get in contact like with me or Christina, just like
Yeah.
mention that, and then like they'll forward the email to me. So it's like, yeah, so please, Okay, we're gonna take it off recording. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Yay.
you.
If you guys
Thanks for
could
staying
stick
late.
around for a minute, let's see, how do I undo recording?
Yeah.
You have to do summaries for this. Can you
Oh, okay.
spell out your names for me? so I
yeah.
can
Oh, yes. So my name is Caroline.
You want to write it on the board?
Actually, yeah, that's better.
Um.
Yeah, I'll write my, yeah.